dyan yan. But so far, funds for infrastructure and other projects, wala pong planong galawin yan at this time. And hopefully, this virus will be minimized, if not defeated at the soonest possible time, especially if our mga kababayan mag-cooperate sa enhanced quarantine. The target for this is 2 months, can be extended unless necessary. But if you all cooperate, bigyan natin ng armas ang gobyerno, nalabanan to, and we will move from there. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Your time, Honorable Almario, has lapsed. Thank you very much. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, next to interpolate is the Honorable Gentle Lady, Arlene Brosas. I'd like to recognize the Honorable Brosas for her interpellation. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
The representative from Gabriela Party List, Honorable Arlene Brosas, is recognized to interpolate the good sponsor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ilang katanungan lang po sa ating good sponsor.
You may proceed.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, may listahan po ba ang gobyerno natin ng dapat pagkagastusan? Dahil ang sinasabi nga natin, dapat ay pagtugon sa pandemic na nangyayari ngayon. At ang gusto natin, yung sinasabi nilang 275 billion, saan po yun mapupunta? Ilan ba yung mass testing kits na gagawin? Ilan po ba yung mga i-hire na volunteers? Ilan po yung econ relief o pagkain? O actually kasi inibilang po natin, hindi talaga sasakto yung 5,000 pesos para sa mga nahihirapan sa quarantine ngayon. Kailangan pong gumilang ng mga 10,000 pesos subsidy para po sa mga mamamayan natin na hindi makapaghanap buhay. So gusto pong nating itanong yung komprehensibong plano. Kasi hindi naman naisabi sa atin yan kahit po sa committee, kung ano ang plano ng DOH at ano-ano ilan ang mga ito, ang mga mass testing kits, ilan ang i-hire, anong protection nila, at bakit nagpapatawag ng volunteer. Concern po ito ng mga doktor, nurses, at iba pang nasa mga frontline health workers natin. Ilan ang i-hire nila, mga quarantine centers, hospital na gagamitin, magkano ang overall natin na kailangan.
Maraming salamat, Mr. Speaker, sa tanong. Una-una, just to tackle the issue on kabuhayan. There are 24.6 million households in the Philippines. 6.6 million households belong to the formal economy. 18 million households are either poor or low income. Ito yung tinatawag na informal sectors. Ito po yung tutuganan na 18 million, especially dun sa plano na magbigay ng emergency subsidy program. Nawalan sila ng trabaho, no work, no pay sila, nawalan sila ng kabuhayan. So ang gobyerno po ay handang tulungan sila. Of course, yung concern nyo, yung amount, ang competition po ang gagamitin na lang po natin kasi para hindi tumagal is yung daily minimum wage requirement per region na iba-iba po. Iba po ang daily wage sa NCR, iba sa Mindanao, iba sa Bicol. So yun po ang gagamitin nating basihan pag-subsidize. Ang initial estimate, more or less, just to provide to 18 million households is basically almost around 100 billion per month. So, yan po yung estimates. Regards dun sa health na issue po ng ating congresswoman, kagalang-galang na congresswoman, ay ibibigay po yan sa atin malinaw and Congress has the power of oversight para usisain po yan. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, mayroon po tayong 18 billion na pondo ng gobyerno para sa Universal Healthcare Program. Under the 2019, 197 billion ang ating unprogrammed funds. Magkano yung natira dito? Hindi ba't malaking pondo ito na pwede natin gawin? Actually, nilay nga natin sa particularly sa military and sa police, no? Yung Oplan Tokhang at iba pa, no, na mga iba't ibang mga pinaglagakan ng pondo natin ng 2019 and 2020. Bakit hindi po ito nakasasapat ngayon para mag-respond sa COVID-19?
Mr. Speaker, unang-una po,
With the current national budget, ano po?
Mr. Speaker, unang-una po, lahat ng available funds, i-utilize yan. Pangalawa, nung pinasa po natin yung, revision ng syntax, alam po ng Kongreso na merong gap, kulang po ang pera para mapondohan itong universal healthcare. Ang nangyari po, may projection po ang ating Department of Finance, pag napasa to, ay X number of billions they will generate. However, with the crisis po, bumagal ang ekonomiya, bumagal ang koleksyon, we cannot safely say now na yung perang pinrogram a few months ago is there. That's why there's a need to pass this law to allow the President to reallocate, realign, to fund the needs for this crisis. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Brosas. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Honorable Rosas. Mr. Speaker,
Mr.
please give me
Mr.
the
Speaker,
opportunity.
specific na lang po.
Your 5
Mr.
minutes
Speaker.
Thank you very
expired.
much, Honorable Rosas.
Your 5 minutes expired.
We are following strictly the 5-minute rule. May I remind our colleagues that not to ask
Mr.
questions
Speaker,
which
I
have
would
already
like
been
to manifest
propounded.
na lang that
Mr. Speaker, I would like to
in the proper
recognize
time, I'll propose
Majority Leader.
amendments to
Tay
ensure that
for his
these are
interpellation.
reflected
I so
in
move, Mr.
the
Speaker.
text of the bill.
Please repeat, Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to apologize to the Honorable Brosas that we are strictly following the 5-minute rule. I hope she understands there are so many in the list. We have 16 or 17 more people in the list who will also ask equally important questions. I'd like to appeal to everybody to heed our reminder to not to ask questions which have already been propounded on the floor or internet. Mr. Speaker, with this, I'd like to recognize the Honorable Suntay for his 2-minute interpellation.
Thank you very much,
Honorable
Mr.
Tay
Speaker.
from Quezon City is recognized.
Maraming salamat, Mr. Speaker. While I recognize the need for to empower the President, meron lang ho akong dalawang concern. First of all, alam ko na kailangan natin maglikom ng pera, which will be used by our President. First, to minimize the spread of the pandemic, to give assistance, at saka yung sa social amelioration program. But we can only do this, we can only empower the President if there is savings. First, doon sa Supreme Court decision sa DAP kasi, savings can only be determined after the end of the fiscal year. Unless projects will be discontinued or canceled. Yung problema ho dito, yung cause of concern ko, and I want us to take note, pagka diniscontinue yung program at project, for the next 2 fiscal budget years, hindi na pwedeng ulitin yung project na yon. So yun yung concern ko. So kung kunyari ang pagkukunan ng savings, kunyari ay allotment from the DPWH, for 2 fiscal years, hindi na pwedeng i-propose kaagad yung project na yon. So if it's needed by a particular district, hindi na natin magagamit. Yun yung una kong concern. Yung pangalawang concern ko ho, nakita ko, as I mentioned, these are all for social amelioration program. Pero pagka humaba pa ho, itong usapin na ito, yung problema natin with regards to yung coronavirus, we would also need to have a package to support yung mga SMEs natin, which was not considered dito sa batas na ipapasa natin. There is no economic stimulus package which has been included. Paano po yun?
First of all, we'd like to assure our distinguished colleague from Quezon City that money will be dispersed within COA rules, within the Constitution. Secondly, these are uncertain times. We cannot really predict when this will end. All we need to do is act and pray that this will be defeated soon. That's why there's really a need for this to be passed as soon as possible time. Because you are correct, Mr. Speaker, tama po siya. wala pa nga yung economic stimulus package dito eh, but which I think will follow. However, in order to have a package, you need to give the President, through the executive, the power to realign. Because when we passed the budget, wala talagang, we did not take this in consideration. So again, these concerns will be addressed as soon as these bills are passed, becomes into law. I think most of these concerns are already in the minds of our top leaders in the country, especially our President. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As I mentioned, I'm very supportive of this proposed bill. Pero kasi dito sa bill na ito, meron tayong management team which is being created kung saan magre-report yung executive department. Kaya ako lang ho binanggit to para so that the management team could keep in mind na pagka nag-cancel tayo ng mga programa which has already been allotted, and even under the executive department, for the next 2 fiscal year, hindi na pwedeng i-propose ulit yon. So mawawala yon for the next 2 years. Pangalawa nga ho is we also have to ready to prepare for an economic stimulus package to support naman yung ating SMEs. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Speaker, duly noted all those valid concerns raised by our distinguished congressman.
Majority Leader. Majority Leader.
Thank you very much, Honorable Suntay. I'd like to recognize the Honorable Divine Yu, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Divine Yu is recognized.
Good morning po. Good morning sa lahat. May I ask, Mr. Speaker, if hindi pala nakasama yung public utility companies dun sa Section 4,
Mr. Speaker, very clear po, Section 4, Paragraph 4, wala pong mention of the word takeover, wala pong mention of the word public utility.
so with that, Mr. Speaker, I just would like to manifest our concern here in Region 9, specifically in Zamboanga del Sur. Kasi po, it seemed okay kami kasi no positive individual, no positive sa COVID na individual. But the real problem is, yung mga samples namin, swabbing samples, hindi pwedeng ipadala dyan sa Manila because we have no flight here in Region 9. And when I talked to the AFP, sabi yung C-130 schedule would be on March 25 pa. So with that, Mr. Speaker, I think it would be, it would help us a lot if we could use kahit 1 or 2 planes from private companies like PAL or Sibupac to transport very important cargos like our medicines. We have purchased medicines and kits, PPEs from Manila, but until now, hindi pa rin napadala papunta dito sa amin. So that's our problem, Mr. Speaker, and I would like to manifest that so that the Congress could think some ways on how to help regions far from Manila and Cebu. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Duly noted all the valid and important concerns raised by our colleague, Congresswoman Divine. We will take that in consideration in the implementation of the guidelines of this law once passed. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move we recognize the Honorable Kit Belmonte of Quezon City for his interpellation. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Kit Belmonte from Quezon City is recognized to interpolate the good sponsor.
Mr. Speaker, move for suspension. I think nakamute po.
Tol, nakamute ka. Please unmute.
Yun. Okay.
Okay, you may proceed.
Good afternoon, Mr. Speaker. May the distinguished gentleman yield to a few questions.
It would be an honor, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. As most of my colleagues know, nandito po kami sa hot zones. Halos 2 barangay ko ay mataas na po yung cases. Ang unang concern ko po, Mr. Speaker, ay yung kwento po ng isang kapitan ko na sobrang dedicated supporter ng gobyerno at ng mga kailangan gawin. Nagpapakamatay na sila sa ground for the past 2 weeks para i-enforce yung community quarantine, i-locate at i-isolate yung mga PUI at PUM, mag-disinfect, magpakain, mag-deliver ng pagkain. Pero dahil sa halos imposibleng ma-enforce doon sa mga depressed communities na dikit-dikit ang mga pintuan, napakalaki ng mga pamilya, kabit-kabit at unsanitary mga conditions, hindi ho nila napa-perfect. Kahapon po, may nagsumbong na pumunta daw sila sa barangay hall, hindi sila nakatanggap ng pagkain, at across the street ay may nagsuway sa kanya. Nagsumbong po yung tao at ang napagbintangan ay ang aking barangay captain, and hindi lang po siya napagbintangan. Publicly po siyang nakastigo ng isang USEC po ng ating gobyerno. My question po, Mr. Speaker, is hindi ho ba under Section 6 of our bill, hindi ho ba siya maapektuhan dito? Lalo-lalo na ho yung dulo which says na perpetual disqualification na napakagaling na public servant nito. Dahil lang doon sa intriga na yon, nadali na ho siya. And paano ho yung mga nagkakalat ng mga fake news na yan? Saan sila masasakop dito sa bill na to? My first question, Mr. Speaker, Your Honor.
Mr. Speaker, magandang punto po yan. Unang-una, ina-acknowledge natin ang mga frontliners, mga po dyan ng mga barangay captain na naghihirap, nagpupuyat para ma-implement po lahat ng guidelines as laid out by the IATF. Malino naman po sa Section 6, kung sino po ang pwedeng kasuhan, yung na-point out po ng ating kagalang-galang congressman from Quezon City, wala naman pong batas na nilalabag ang kanyang ginagawa. So we encourage these LGUs to continue what they're doing. Just follow the guidelines as laid out by the IATF. Just follow the local government code. Just follow the law. And I think ang tao dapat talaga ang ma-encourage magdisiplina at sumunod sa kautosan nito. At lahat ng mga LGU kasama ang kapitan, they are empowered to instill discipline dun sa mga lumalabag. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you for that, distinguished sponsor. Ang point ko lang po is, doon sa mga depressed communities na dikit-dikit po talaga, halos impossible kasi ang iinit ng mga bahay, naglalabasan pa rin sila paglagpas ng mga tanod. Technically, and yung mga kailangan kumuha ng pagkain, lumabas, technically, pag tinignan po natin yung mga guidelines, pwede na rin sumabit yung mga nag-enforce kasi hindi nila ma-perfect ito. Ano yung protection ko para sa kanila, Mr. Speaker, Your Honor?
Well, naintindihan po natin ang problema sa NCR, dikit-dikit ng bahay. Sa aming probinsya, isang bahay, 1 kilometro. So I think the executive branch knows these problems and concern. Kasama po natin dito ang Secretary of the ALG, nakikinig. Ay importante lang po, sundin yung guidelines basta hanggang kaya nila, sundin nila yun. At this point, talagang dapat talaga, we should really stay in our homes. Di ba sinasabi nga, a lot of our frontliners are staying out so that we can stay home. So siguro as much as possible, as much as practicable, sundin na lang po natin ang guidelines and protocols. Thank you po, Mr. Speaker.
1 minute.
Mr. Speaker, sinasabi ng WHO, World Health Organization, na ang kailangan natin ay test. Naintindihan ko yung mga binibigay nating powers, emergency powers. Tingin ko, kailangan naman po talaga kukunin yung mga ospital, pag kailangan yung mga public utilities. Pero ano yung malinaw na plano? For example, kailan po natin masasabing magagawa, mai-implement yung test. Kasi parang ang pakiramdam namin dito sa ground, halos lahat PUM na o PUI kasi hindi naman namin matetest. Mr. Speaker, Your Honor. So, we're giving all the budget, kinukuha niyo yung budget, sabi niyo, i-implement sundan ng local government yung mga batas ay yung mga rules and regulations. Pero anong linaw po nito? For example, yun, kailan yung test na may implement? Anong timeline nito,
Mr. Speaker, napakaganda po ng punto. Yan po ang gusto marinig na ating kababayan. Dati po, RITM lang ang nag-umpisa po ang testing center. Magandang balita po. I think the government has laid out, as per the DOH, 15 na po ang magiging testing center. Kasama na rin po dyan ang Bicol Medical Center sa Camarines Sur, sa Bicol. So, tinutugunan po yan. Ang kailangan lang po natin kasi maintindihan itong virus na to, kahit na 100 po ang testing center ngayon, kahit i-test po yung 100 million Filipinos ngayon, hindi po ibig sabihin na pag tinest sila ngayon, next week, hindi sila pwede magkaroon. So I think non-stop po ang demand and need for testing. Ang importante lang po, ang dapat i-test lang talaga, yung talagang meron symptoms. Ngayon, kung may available, bigyan sila sila ang bibigyan ng pansin. Kasi just to reiterate, I can be tested now and I'm negative, but tomorrow I can be positive. So I think what's important again is for people to stay in their homes to minimize the spread. Yan po naka-importante po.
Thank you very much, Representative Bill Monte. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move we recognize the distinguished Deputy Speaker from my hometown of Pampanga, the Honorable Aurelio Don Gonzales, for his interpellation.
Representative Deputy Speaker from Pampanga Province, Honorable Aurelio Don Gonzales is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Sponsor. Well, I will just combine my manifestation and interpellation to the good sponsor. Based on our consultation or our medicine group, meron lang po akong manifestation na kasi we have to be transparent. Yung COVID-19 and the PUI, halos pareho na lang po yan. Kailangan the Department of Health sabihin na po kung ilan yung positive at ilan yung PUI. Ganyan po kasi yung nangyari sa Kuwait at Italy. Number two, we need millions of testing kit for PUMs, PUI, COVID positive patients. Each patient needs more than one testing kit to monitor the progress. We also need isolate the quarantine this patient in our facility, not to send them home. Number three, kung pwede po, yung mga ospital sa government, which is ginagawa na po to sa probinsya namin, sa Pampanga, i-separate po natin yung COVID-19 at saka yung mga PUIs and government and private para separate na lang po sila. Para ma-entertain po natin yung mga ibang may sakit sa puso, diabetes, hindi naman related sa COVID-19. So the focus of the bill should be on the health care that provides and even private hospital. The government should tap university also, base the professor consultants, the retired doctors, retired medical professionals, and if allowed, the foreign medical consultants. Like for example, in UST. In UST po kasi, mayroon tayong magaling na infectious consultant. Ang pangalan niya po yan, if I'm not mistaken, Doktora Angeles Alora. Yan po yung magaling. Kung magagawa po natin yan, bawat pribado, kunin po natin yung mga consultant. According to the UST doctor, the COVID plus 19 will continue to spread. Kakalat pa po yan. At lalong-lalo na to adopt the strategies of other countries. In New York and California, completely locked down their respective states. So, in the name of transparency, the Department of Health should release the data of PUIs and COVID. So, on that, Mr. Speaker, we are on the difficult times, even more difficult than war. The President is the most informed in our country. Let us trust him. So, we will pray hard. God bless the Philippines. God save the world. So ito po ang aking manifestation. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Sponsor, I have this data with this almost 112 million population all over the country. And we have 243 legislative districts. Wala po tayong planong maglagay ng center bawat distrito para ma-check lang natin yung mga COVID-19 MPUIs. Mr. Sponsor.
Well, right now po, ang testing center po, dati RITM, ngayon all over the country, 50 na. Right now, there's a plan to convert government hospitals, if I'm not mistaken, Lung Center to be a COVID center. Private hospitals are volunteering to treat COVID patients. Again, yung issue po ng ating distinguished gentleman from Pampanga, we will take that in consideration, but putting up testing centers or isolation centers per district, again, needs funding. That's why there's really an urgent need to pass this measure as soon as possible so that all plans, programs in tackling this virus will be funded. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Sponsor.
Last 1 minute.
I have my data for the total number of employees. Ito po bang ginagawa natin? Ilang ahensya po to? DOLE, Department of Health, DA. Ano pa po ba ang covered ditong batas na House Bill 6616, Mr. Speaker? Mr. Sponsor.
Well, wala pong nakaspecify dito which implementing agency, but just to start, siguro DSWD is mandated, of course, to help the poor, the indigents in crisis. Palagay ko, kasama po dito yan. Ang Department of Labor and Employment, meron silang programa na tupad, nagbibigay ng kabuhayan, hanap buhay, income sa mga tao. Palagay ko kasama yan. Ang iba't ibang ahensya po are free to submit whatever needs, funding requirements they need, subject of course to the guidelines, and of course make sure that these are programs that will tackle the COVID. So as of now po, let's give the President the authority to determine yung need. Again, Congress has the oversight power to check. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Sponsor.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we recognize the Honorable Ferdinand Gaite for his interpellation. So moved, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Ferdinand Gaite from AK Teacher Party List, recognized.
Mr. Speaker, correction, I represent Bayan Muna.
Bayan Muna, Party List.
Yes, correction, Mr. Speaker, I represent the Bayan Muna Party List.
Please proceed.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, to our proponent, a few questions. But before I proceed, some have been questioning if there is a proposal to provide emergency powers for the President. It does. Section 3, Declaration clearly states that the imperativeness to grant emergency powers to the President. And ang tanong ko po, Mr. Speaker, to our distinguished Congressman El Rey Villafuerte, gaano karami ho bang binabalak na itayong mga hospital? Maraming pinag-present kayong binabanggit, pero I do not find this in the proposed House Bill 6616. Ilan ho bang bibilhin ng mga gamit pang testing na kailangan natin? Ilang bang tinatawag na ventilators at iba pang gamit na kailangan na kulang ngayon sa ating mga hospital? I do not find this in the bill, which is very, we have very short time, pero walang specifics itong proposed bill, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Napakaganda po ng pinoint out niya. That's why there's really a need to pass this bill as simple, as effective as possible. If we will go to the details, ilang ventilator, ibang safety kits, ang budget hearing po natin inaabot ng 3 buwan. 14 hours tayo nag-hearing. Hindi po tayo matatapos kung isa-isahin natin ilang testing kits. Mag-hearing po tayo, iba't ibang sektor. Palagay ko, ang importante is empower the President, give him the authority. We trust him, he has his officials with him to determine what is needed. Again, papasok to sa guidelines. Ilan, magkano, which again will be within the guidelines, and Congress has oversight powers over this. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, Your Honor. But on the other hand, our Constitution also already provides for measures in which the President can utilize a large chunk of our approved GAA for 2020. Balikan lang natin, we have a 4.1 trillion budget approved for 2020. Ibawas na dito yung ilang items, yung tinatawag na yung sa constitutional commissions at iba pa, isama natin yung ibang funds. Doon sa 4.1 trillion, we have about 1.75 trillion that we can already utilize even without hours, even without emergency powers. Gamitin lang yung provision ng ating saligang batas, mas malaki pa yung inaasahan natin maibigay para sa ating mga mamamayan sa kailangan na kailangan natin ang mga benepisyo at serbisyo nito. Hindi lamang sa paggamot, hindi lamang yung testing, hindi lang yung treatment, hindi lang yung tracing, pati yung iba pa, rehabilitation, which has already affected our economy, yung ating micro small enterprises, yung ating mga manggagawa na wala ng trabaho, hindi lang aabot ito ng 2 months, baka mas mahaba pa. Walang details, hindi natin makita dito sa provision na ito. And kailangan na meron ng details. Paano natin makikita ito ngayon sa panahon na kailangan natin, sinasabi nyo, na aprubahan natin ang naturang panukalang batas? Mr. Speaker, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ang sinabi po ng ating kasama po, our distinguished gentleman, Congressman Gaite, tama po siya. Sinabi po niya na ang 4.1 trillion budget may available po na 1.7 na pwedeng gamitin. Talaga pong gagamitin yan. Pero balikan ko po, yung 3.4 trillion, yun po isa sa mga pwedeng i-realign, i-reprogram. And we should give the President, the executive branch, the power to realign, reprogram this based on the need, based on the crisis. Again, if we uusisain po natin itong isa-isa, ay hindi po tayo matatapos. Baka tapos na po ang krisis. Yung tao na, di ba po ang hiningi ng tao natin ngayon, immediate action. So that's what we're providing with this bill. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Last question.
Mr. Chair, yes, ang punto ko lang po, there are provisions in our Constitution which provides checks and balances on how such funds can be utilized. Article 6, Section 24, number 5, nabanggit na po na no law shall be passed authorizing any transfer appropriations. Pero mismo sa ilalim ng executive branch, ang Pangulo ay pwedeng gumamit ng napakalaking pondo. Ito yung tatawagin na nating war chest to address the concerned issue. So, willing mga provisions na unconstitutional sa binabanggit na panukalang batas. At in the appropriate time, kami po ay magre-rehistro ng aming mga tindig na dapat yung bigyan ng focus. Yung 10,000 pesos para sa ating mga manggagawang mawalan ng trabaho, yung mga testing ng ating mga frontliners, lalo na yung ating mga health workers, at iba pang mga panukala na dapat makatulong sa mga mamayan at hindi magamit sa ibang mga posibleng katiwalian at korupsyon para ma-ensure na meron pa rin checks and balances, lalo na sa panahong ito. Maraming salamat, Mr. Chair. Maraming salamat, Mr. Sponsor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Rest assured, all our colleagues, that all provisions here we've been discussing we feel are all constitutional, and it is not stop anybody from questioning it before the Supreme Court. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we recognize the Honorable Khalid Dimaporo for his interpellation. So moved, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Khalid Dimaporo is recognized for his interpellation.
Hello.
You may
Hello?
proceed. You may proceed.
Hello. Test.
Yes,
Mic
yes.
test. Mic test.
Please proceed. Please proceed.
Test. Mic test. Hello.
We can hear you.
Okay. Does the honorable gentleman will he yield to some questions from this representation?
It would be an honor, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My concern is actually quite personal. And first, I'd like to acknowledge the hard work of all our leaders there in Congress. We're working together with the executive in coming up with a bill that will be our response against COVID-19. Now, I'd like to state for the record, from my understanding, 3 out of the 4 first COVID positive patients in Mindanao are actually Muslims. And my understanding is that in the fight against COVID-19, the Department of Health recommends cremation to prevent the further transmission of COVID-19 if a patient dies from the virus. Now, in the case of Cagayan de Oro, patient 40 died in CDO, and he was a Muslim. There was a compromise between the DOH and the family that that patient, be buried in accordance to Islamic rights and principles. Now, my concern is to the author, Mr. Speaker, is in regards to the intent of the bill. Now that we're giving extra authority to the President, is it going to be extra strict compliance in terms of, for example, cremation should the patient die from COVID-19? And secondly, what's the intent of the authors of the bill? Can we get on the record if whether or not our religious practices will be acknowledged and even protected? That's my first question, Mr. Speaker.
First of all, religious curtailment is not guaranteed within our constitution. It will be followed. What's happening now, for example, kung may namatayan, is there are certain protocols to avoid to ensure the safety of our people. But let me assure our colleagues that all religious practices, of course, will be respected within the protocol set. For example, right now, pinagbawal po ang large gatherings, so they can do online worship. With regards to burial and others, it will still be respected, but within the protocols po. Again, religious and others types of worship will be respected. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to thank again Deputy Speaker El Rey for that answer, and that's a piece and at least reduced my anxiety. Secondly, I'd like to ask a question about what's happening outside of Metro Manila. There's localized quarantine, closure of local boundaries, and individual local executive orders. Does the extra powers that we're giving to the President override the local government code, and to what extent?
Not to override, Mr. Speaker. The local officials should strictly follow the local government code, number one. They should strictly follow the guidelines by the IATF. The problem is some local government misinterpret the law, misinterpret the guideline. So this has to be cleared. The executive has direct supervision and control over LGUs. What this empowers the executive is to align the guidelines. Kasi, for example, meron isang probinsya na naka-lockdown na, yung munisipyo gusto rin mag-lockdown and it affects the flow of goods and services, then executive can step in. Because it might be contrary to the, number one, protocols. It will be contrary to the flow of goods and services. So what basically the LGUs are, what powers they have now, they continue to have it. The executive has direct supervision over them through the DLG. Siguro with this special authority, mas malinaw po sa ating mga LGUs na lalo nilang ipatupad ang protocols at ipatupad nila ang nasa local government code. That's basically what they need to do. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, just as a follow-up, I'd like to point out Section 6 or penalties so that it will be made very clear to the municipal mayors or the local chief executives that should they violate or extend what the national government allows, because of with what we're passing here today, they would be liable for certain penalties such as disqualification from office. I hope the good Deputy Speaker El Rey can clarify this, and that was my last question. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, malinaw po kasi may guidelines ng IATF, dapat sundin po nila yon. Kasi for example, may balita na nagbebenta ng mga pass, unaccept, illegal yun, di ba ho? Then secondly, may order rin ang IATF, kung mag-i-issue man sila ng pass, dapat siguro ibahay-bahay. Yung iba, kino-convert sa barangay hall. So mga ganyan maliliit na bagay, but at the same time, it's violating the enhanced community quarantine. So again, we encourage the LGUs to read the IATF protocols clearly. Secondly, to follow the local government code. And thirdly, it's incumbent upon the DILG to issue regular circulars so that these LGUs will comply. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we recognize the Honorable P.D. Barsaga for his interpellation. So move, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable P.D. Barsaga is recognized from Cavite Province. Honorable P.D. Barsaga is recognized. You're recognized.
Martin.
You're now recognized, Honorable P.D. Barsaga from Cavite Province. You may interpolate the good sponsor.
Mr. Speaker, I move to suspend.
Session suspended.
Boss PD, it was your turn.
Wala na yung chance to ask questions?
I'm number one in the list, but I haven't been recognized.
I would like to ask questions, but kurang hindi. Okay lang, but I think 90% of my questions okay naman. Answerable. That's the problem.
Gabi, tawagan mo si ML.
Well, just wait. Anyway, more questions coming in. We will have more discussion.
Hi, Secretary.
Sessions resume.
Mr. Speaker.
Honorable P.D. Barsaga from Cavite Province is recognized to interpolate the good sponsor.
Magandang hapon sa inyong lahat. Ang tinig ng lungsod ng Dasmariñas ay pinararating ang taus-pusong pagsuporta sa House Bill number 6616. Kailangan na ng ating mamamayan, lalong-lalo na ng ating mga health workers, ang tulong na manggagaling sa ating pamalan. Kaya nakikiusap ako sa ating mga kasamahan sa Kongreso na agaran na nating ipasa ang House Bill na to para mabigyan natin ang ating Pangulo ng pondo at makagawa ng agarang hakbang para masugpo ang coronavirus. Maraming salamat.
Honorable Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, next to interpolate is the Honorable Sara Elago of the Kabataan Party List.
From Kabataan Party List, Honorable Sara Ilago is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Magandang hapon sa lahat. Will the sponsor yield to further interpellation from this representation?
It would be an honor, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, nakita na natin ang 27.1 COVID-19 package at nakakabahala po na napakaliit na porsyento lamang dito ang mapupunta sa kalusugan. Nasa 11% ang para sa COVID-19, nasa 10% para sa SureAid. Ngunit po ang ilan dito, nasa 51.66% naman ang para sa turismo. Bakit po napakaliit ang ilalaan natin na pondo para sa kalusugan, Speaker?
Mr. Speaker, I think the distinguished Congresswoman was referring to the economic package earlier proposed. No? However, we're already talking about 275 billion for immediate funding of, for example, yung mga nawalan ng trabaho, for health, over and above yung mga program, over and above po ng IRIRI program sa budget. So I think the primordial objective of this special authority that we will be giving is yung mga tao, iwas sila sa virus, una, at mas importante, hindi sila magutom. Dahil pag nagutom po ang ating mga kababayan, mas lalo po silang prone na magkasakit. So yan po ang pinaka-importante dito. And yung mga ibang bagay po ay tutugunan pa rin because of the power to reprogram the budget. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, what's the breakdown of this 275 billion budget?
200 billion will be used to as an emergency subsidy program to be given to around 18 million households, ranging from 5,000 to 8,000, depending on the need. Around 1 month ang kailangan, based on estimates, is mga 100 billion. So if you give subsidies or cash assistance, itong mga affected na to, for 2 months, 200 billion automatic ang kailangan.
Mr. Speaker, socio-economic assistance is indeed needed. Ayan, but what about funds for mass testing, for PPEs, for regional testing centers, and for further boosting of our healthcare systems, Mr. Speaker?
There's an available 75 billion available from the 275 of budget, number one. Number two, there's existing funds available in the 2020, such as the quick response funds that can be tapped for testing kits, purchase of PPEs, establishment of testing centers nationwide, which is currently being done. So, again, kailangan talaga mabigyan ng special authority because while there are existing funds, the government should be given the power to reprogram. Because when the budget was approved last December, hindi po na-put into consideration itong crisis na to. So, therefore, kailangan talaga itong special authority to be given to the President. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, UP developed a testing kit. Will this be fully and substantially supported by the national government?
Yes, testing kit is one of the programs and priority of the government. However, as mentioned earlier, may mga protocols rin in doing this because even if it's 117 million Filipinos today, next week they can be contaminated. So may guidelines pa rin. It's not how much testing kits, it's how it will be utilized and applied. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, practices and studies show that mass testing is key and critical to battling COVID-19. Mr. Speaker, saan po makikita itong 275 billion na sinasabi ng sponsor sa bill? Hindi po ito nakasulat kahit saan dito sa post bill, Mr. Speaker.
Wala po sa bill, Mr. Speaker. Importante nga is we give the government, the executive authority to top off budget, GAA budget to rebuild program. Kasi if we put an exact amount, for example, 275, the government needs top 276, time is of essence. Dapat may flexibility, may need.
Time expired.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker,
Thank
hindi po
you.
kasama ang mga questions.
Thank you.
Doon
Time expired.
sa oras. Mr. Speaker,
Your time has expired. Majority Leader.
Thank you very much, the Honorable Sara Elago. Again, I'd like to apologize to the gentle lady that we are following strictly the 5-minute rule, Mr. Speaker. Next to interpolate, I'd like to recognize the Honorable Deputy Speaker, Honorable Dante Marcoleta.
Honorable Dante Marcoleta from Sagip Party List is recognized to interpolate the good sponsor. You may proceed. Please proceed, Deputy Speaker. Please unmute. Yes, nakamute ka.
Pasensya na po, hindi ko masyadong kabisado, Mr. Speaker. Narinig na po ba ako?
Opo. Please proceed. Pwede na po kayo magtanong.
Salamat po. Wala po akong itatanong. Ang aking pong masasabi lamang, ang Sagip Party List po ay buong pusong sumusuporta sa panukalang batas na iniaahin natin sa kasalukuyan. Ito po ay kailangan sa wala po tayong ibang mabisang paraan na naiisip kung hindi lamang ito para kaagad po nating mapuksa ang kasamaang dulot ng COVID-19. Ang Sagip Party List po ay nakikiisa sa ating pamahalaan at sa lahat ng ating mga kasama ngayon upang sana ay agaran nating may sakatuparan sa pamamagitan ng ating Pangulo ang mga dapat gawin upang maisalba natin ang ating mga kababayan sapagkat ang pinag-uusapan po natin ngayon ay hindi ang ating mga karapatan, kung hindi ang buhay ng bawat isang mamamayan na kailangan po nating matulungan sa panahon ito. Ako po ay nakikiusap sa ating mga kasamahan na bigyan natin ng kaukulang karapatan at prerogative ang ating Pangulo na gawin ang nararapat sapagkat ang sabi ko nga, wala na pong ibang paraan. There is no better option available unless anyone from our members is smarter enough to be able to suggest a better alternative than this one. Ito po ay kailangan at kailangan na po nating pagtuunan ng pansin kung paano natin mapapadali ang pagpuksa sa isang salot na dumating sa ating bansa. Huwag po kayong mag-alala mga kababayan sapagkat kung babasahin po natin ang panukalang batas, ito po ay nakasaad sa ating saligang batas. At napakarami po ng restrictions na nakalaan dito, nakapaloob dito upang sa pagsasagawa ng anumang mga bagay na kakailangan ng ating Pangulo. Ito po ay naaayon lamang sa kailangan the necessary and appropriate steps that are needed at hindi naman po maaaring abusuhin ito sapagkat nandun nga rin po yung sinasabi nating oversight ng ating Kongreso. At ako po ay naniniwala na ang ating Pangulo kahit kailan ay hindi niya gagawin na abusuhin ang isang niyang ibinibigay na ito ay kanyang gagawin lamang umatulungan ng ating bansa at ang kanyang mga mamamayan. Salamat po lahat, Mr. Speaker.
Maraming po salamat, Majority.
Thank you very much, Honorable Dante Marcoleta. I'd like to recognize the Honorable Kabatbat for his interpellation.
Honorable RJ Kabatbat from Magsasaka Party List is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Hello? Narinig po ako, Mr. Speaker?
Yes, please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Would the honorable gentleman yield to some questions?
With pleasure, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Sponsor. Noon pong nakaraang taon, ipinagsisigawan na natin na huwag po tayong umasa sa imporsyon para masigurado na may kakainin po ang sambayang Pilipino. Pagkos, dapat po tayong magsasaka Pilipino para masigurado na mapapap natin mga kabayan. Kanya lang po, no, ang nag-direction ay at ang natin, baka tingnan ako na magkaroon ang ibang bansa. Bigla na huwag nang mag-ng Pilipinas at ito nga po, nangyari na yung COVID-19. Sana po, matuto tayo na sa pangyayaring ito. At siguraduhin na tayo nating pakisarili ng hindi natin isa. Kung natin gawin dyan, magbigay tayo ng ayulong sa ating mga magsasaka para masigurado na habang may crisis, pa natin ang ating mga kabayan at mabunlan natin ang mga magsasakang Pilipino. Dahil sa totoo po, huwag po tayo umahalin tayo ng ibang yung mga magsasakang pagpapain sa atin. Ang tanong ko po, Mr. Speaker, po ba ito sa proposyon na nagsasabi o natin para po ay bibigay din sa mga masa para mas masisigurado natin tayo sa nasunang pagkain hindi depende sa ito. Sir Speaker.
Thank you, sa itilyo ng ating mga farmers. Pangalawa, may programa, may PONPO na nakala sa 2020 budget. Humor assistance using 5,000 subsidy cash assistance sa mga pampalay dahil bago na tayo ng COVID, hirap po at mga kabayan farmers. Yung po yan, dapat i-release po yan ng Department of Agriculture, una. Pangalawa, kung kailangan i-augment po yan, andito pang Kongreso, kasama na rin po sa power na bibigyan natin sa Ecodibo na ma-reprogram ang ibang pondo para mabigyan ng pansin ng ating mga kababayan na mga farmers. Pangatlo, yung punto po nyo regarding self-sufficiency, importante po yan. Dahil bawat bansa ngayon ay siyempre may problema. Gusto rin nilang pangalagaan ang kanilang pagkain. Kausap ko lang po kagabi si Secretary Dar, marami na po silang magagandang programa to make our country self-sufficient in terms of food. Of course, balik na naman tayo, kailangan po ng pondo niyan. In times like this, kailangan talaga quick action. That's why there's a really need for this, the passage of this measure. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Sponsor. Karamihan po ng aking mga tanong ay naitanong na. Isa na lang pong maikling manifestation. Sa atin pong lahat sa mga nakikinig sa buong Pilipinas, ilang dekada na po nating pinagwalang bahala ang pagtulong sa ating mga magsasaka. Ngayon, may COVID-19, sana maintindihan nating lahat na ang magsasalba sa atin ay hindi magsasaka ng Thailand, magsasaka ng Vietnam at ng ibang bansa. Ang magsasalba sa atin sa krisis na to ay magsasakang Pilipino. Kaya sana po, bukod sa mga frontliners natin, pasalamatan din po natin ang mga magsasakang ilang dekada na nating inapi at pinagsawalang bahala. Dahil bandang huli po, sila din ay isa sa mga bayani na magsasalba sa atin sa buong Pilipinas. Maraming salamat po, Mr. Speaker.
Salamat po.
Mr. Speaker, bilang kadagdagan sa kanyang comment, napakaganda po. One positive aspect na nangyari po dito sa COVID ay tumaas na po ang buying ng palay. Dati 10 to 12. Ngayon, ang balita ko, 19 to 20 na. Ang mga local traders ay agresibo ng namimili ng bigas ngayon. So one positive aspect po ay tumaas na po ang presyo ng palay. So ang mga farmer ay may positibo silang balita. Salamat po, Mr. Speaker.
Salamat po. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move we recognize the Honorable Gabi Bordado for his period of interpellation.
Honorable
I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Gabi Bordado from Camarines Sur Province is recognized.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Speaker.
You may proceed.
And thank you to our Deputy Speaker from Camarines Sur, Elray Villafuerte. Let me just deliver a sort of manifestation. And this is my manifestation, Mr. Speaker. We need the bayanihan spirit in stomping COVID-19. Everyone must be involved. Everyone must pitch in. But we need also a leader to do all this. We need a leader who is free from numerous tasks to see to it that everyone is doing theirs. We need a leader who will tell everyone which way to go, what to prepare, how to execute, how to move forward. Mr. Speaker, the powers proposed to be given to the President in order to realize the purposes of the bill are already in our laws, wisely apportioned and distributed to the many agencies and offices under the Executive Department and widely decentralized to different local government units in order to make the burden lighter for everyone. In fact, right at this very moment, the President, the stroke of his pen, can order the massive procurement of test kits and declare universal testing if need be, ensure the timely delivery of personal protective equipment to our doctors, nurses, and other medical workers, as well as soldiers, police officers, and barangay officials manning our checkpoints, provide free treatment for all COVID-19 patients, heighten Department of Health contact tracing efforts, provide enough medical equipment and ventilators and oxygen for each hospital, provide enough hospital beds for COVID-19 patients, provide new hospital wings for COVID-19 patients, provide additional compensation and access to temporary housing facilities, and then give enough safety nets like unconditional cash transfers, also provide financial assistance for the daily wagers, and economic packages for the business affected by the calamity. So in other words, the President has now the powers to do this. And let me just ask one question, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker?
Yes, you may proceed.
In the bill, there is this provision restricting the powers of the local government unit. Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, may the distinguished gentleman from Camarines Sur point out which provision? Because as far as I know, there is no provision restricting local government units. In fact, local government units will be a strong partner in the fight for COVID. Because once we give special authority and powers to the President, who is the executive, he has direct supervision over LGUs and he can easily implement this through the coordination, cooperation with the LGUs, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, Mr. Deputy Speaker, we have Bayanihan Act of 2020, Section 4, the authorized powers. Mr. Speaker.
Section.
In the interest of a unified response, communication and coordination with the national government is imperative. But if all issues, especially those that can be undertaken by local government officials, are to be redirected to the national government, wouldn't it slow down our response to a crisis that calls of urgency?
Just for clarification, Section 4, Paragraph 3 ba ang kinukot?
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you for pointing that out. This provision is very important because the key word here is a unified, cohesive, orderly implementation of national policy. Because there are LGUs that are working contrary to the policy. It's very clear that the IATF has laid out guidelines, and some LGUs misinterpret it by issuing orders contrary to the national interest, executive order, and the IATF protocol. So this section is really important. However, this does not curtail in any way the power and prerogatives of you.
Time has expired.
In fact, they are more empowered. Again, I would like to add that the best person to exercise this special authority is our President because he is a strong, capable, decisive leader. May tapang at malasakit. So I think giving this special authority to the President, the incumbent President, is, I think the people can have full confidence because the President has the heart and the political will to fight this virus. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, distinguished sponsor. Thank you, Honorable Bordado. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, last question.
Mr. Speaker,
The time has expired. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move we recognize the Honorable Rida Robes of Bulacan. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Please repeat.
Hi, good afternoon.
Honorable Rida Robes from San Jose del Monte City is recognized for her interpellation.
Magandang hapon po sa atin lahat, higit sa lahat sa kababayan natin sa buong mundo at sa buong Pilipinas. Sanosenyo, pamilyang Sanosenyo, magandang hapon. I'd just like to make my manifestation to our sponsor here. Will you lead for it? Can you hear me?
Yes, it would be an honor, Mr. Speaker.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ang gusto ko lang po iparating po sa bayan ng Pilipinas ay I agree with the House Bill number 16 with the Bill of Bayanihan Bill dahil ako rin po ay syempre chairman ng People's Participation. Ang gusto ko lang pong malaman, Your Honor, kung ano po ang timeline natin sa pag-i-implement nito pagkatapos po natin aprubahan ang batas na ito. Mr. Speaker, can you hear me?
Mr. Speaker, sorry po, akala ko po manifestation. What is the pleasure of our distinguished congresswoman from Bulacan, San Jose del Monte?
Yes, magandang hapon, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to make my manifestation to this bill, the Bayanihan Act,
Dahil ako nga po ay syempre chairman ng People's Participation wherein volunteerismo po ng pamilyang Pilipino ang tinutukoy dito. Ang gusto ko lamang po malaman after manifesting that I agree with this bill para po sa Pilipino at higit sa lahat sa pamilyang San Joseño, ay gusto ko lamang po malaman, after approving this bill, what is our timeline in delivering this to our people?
Tama
Mahalaga
po,
po yan sa kanila, Mr. Speaker.
Napakagandang tanong. Pag na-approve po yan ng Kongreso at Senado ngayon, ipapublicize yan as mandated by law. Once published, it has the full force of effect. What we are asking, if we pass this law in one day, we expect the executive to act as swiftly, as fast as possible. Yan po ang timetable. Kung pwede nga, yesterday. But we have to pass the law today.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I'd like to congratulate each and everyone sa pagsulong po ng batas na ito kahit hindi pa po na ipapasa. Alam ko po, pagdating po sa kakayahan ng bawat pamilyang San Joseño o bawat Pilipino, ibibigay po natin ito para sa kanila. Yun lamang po, Mr. Speaker.
Majority Leader.
Thank you very much, Honorable Robes. Mr. Speaker, I move we recognize the Honorable Femia Kulyat for interpellation. So move, Mr. Speaker.
Representative Bayan Muna, Femia Yamat, is recognized.
Mr. Speaker.
Ang kakutan ko ay ipaatas na ito magkakaroon ng libreng mass testing para sa mga workers na sa mga frontline at saka sa mga people under station under monitoring dahil ito ang nominasyon ng World
Opo sa mga issue ng provide testing kit, lalo po sa mga frontliners.
Speaker, ano ay ilang testing kit ang idadagdag natin?
Mr. Speaker, as we speak, testing kits have protocols. It has to be FDA approved. But rest assured, our colleague, that i-maximize ang testing kits what is required. However, as mentioned earlier, kahit i-test po natin ang lahat ng residente ng ating bansa, ay kailangan po linggo-linggo natin sila i-test. So, even if you have the funds to do that, we still have to follow protocols po, such that let's just test people who have symptoms and yung mga frontliners, and based on guidelines protocol set. But yung direct question to the last number kung ilan, I assure you that we will have, we make sure we will have what's needed, lalo na po dun sa mga nurses. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Salamat, Mr. Speaker. Kailan po natin mga laboratories? Ilang bang itayo sa bawat magkaroon?
Right now, ang is REM. Ang ano po na ngayon ay testing center sa aming probinsya, Bicol, po Medical Center. So, all of that po ang 15 initial private hospitals so planning to do it. So, ano po yan? Kasama po sa plano po yan.
Maraming salamat. Ginong Speaker, mayroon ba tayong na-target na mga personnel para sa mass testing at ilan po ba ang personnel ang kailangan natin para sa pag-provide ng mass testing?
We will provide our distinguished colleague and all members of Congress yung exact numbers for their scrutiny and comments. Just to assure everyone, all of this will be submitted to the IATF. The executive branch will have to report to Congress, and it will be part of the guidelines. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, kung ganun, magkano ba ang budget para natin na kailangan ito? magkano ang ilalaan na natin na budget para sa mga sa testing.
Again, Mr. Speaker, line by line, details will tackle guidelines. It's going to be a scrutiny of this but all of these details in the bill, sinari ilan ano, hindi po tatapos. That's why we understand concern of particularly consumer. However, let me assure them they will judge and they will provide the details as needed. Thank you, Speaker.
Speaker, na itong hindi medial at sa tingin namin ay malakas na ano talaga ng power ng presidente ang namin yung dalawang na kalimisyon ang naisip namin dito na simula yung 2 months or longer sa mga ito, di natin yung dalawang darating nulog pagkamakaroon pa ng mga sa buwan sa magiging sunod na session, pag-resume ng session ay mag-usap ulit tayo para paano natin ipagpatuloy itong serbisyo na ito.
Maraming pong salamat, Majority Leader.
Maraming salamat po. I'd like to recognize the Honorable Jun Datol for his interpellation.
The representative from Senior Citizens Party List, Honorable Jundatol, is recognized.
Magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat. Kagalang-galang na Speaker, Alan Peter Compañero Cayetano, sa ating Pangulo na nakikinig ngayon. Alam niyo po, nang mabalitaan na 10 milyon na senior citizen na magkakaroon ng session yung araw. Ang gusto po nila matapos agad isang araw. Bakit? Ang sabi nila sa akin, Congressman, ikaw naman ang chairman ng senior citizen ng Congress. Ang anda mo, papatay na. Ngayon po, nagkaroon na tayo dito sa nangyari po na kunyagin ang ating speaker ng nakikitanda po sa buong mundo. Sa iyo na USA, Italy, at 80% ng ng citizen. Kaya nga po, notaan kung yung senior citizen, ipatid po sa aming speaker, principal na papanag ng man po citizen 3,700,000. Nag-expose silang lahat na nang sabi na huwag mo sila lalabas ng bahay sapagkat sila po ay madaling mahawa. Yung pong 3 milyon na senior citizen may mga maintenance na po ng gamot. Meron pong mga diabetes, sakit sa puso at kung ano-ano pang mga karamdaman. Kaya nga po, sana tapusin na po ang ating special session na purbahan na yung batas ng mga kapwa ko, mga kongresista. Alam ko naman po na may kitsanda na kongresista, senior citizen na at ang lahat na may tatanda rin. Kaya nga po, kinakatuko mga kongresista at senador na dyan naman sa Senado, si President, sana aprobahan na natin ang madali ang kaya natin sa Pilipinas sa Pilipino at mga senior citizen natin. Maraming salamat.
Sa isip puso po natin ng your citizens, sila po ang mga people. Ngayon panahon na may COVID. Kasama sa diskusyon na speak, he was pointing out need was the particular mabigyan ng means, hygiene kit, yung social pension na natatanggap so to reassure our colleague, Congressman, that over 10 million ay ram namin, alam mo namin yung mga naing at concern.
Mr. Speaker, I move we recognize the Honorable Dago for presentation. So move, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Dago is recognized for his presentation.
Mr. Speaker, thank you, guys. In the speaker, the sponsor, I have two concerns. One is a manifestation, other is a proposed addendum. First, I would like to manifest that together with the power stone, representing 100 million member consumer owners residing in countryside, represented Pelica Party, Aquarium Philippine Party, and representing from Epic Party, would like to manifest a full support to the past recognizing its noble intention and with trust and faith of Bayan Amindawan President. As a matter of the 121 cooperatives under the control of National Electrification is already doing a part for the as a government party in order to ensure continued electric service in our respective area while this problem exists since we consider solely government entity being supervised by the government agency, the National Application Administration. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, I would like to humbly introduce an addendum or proposal that under Section 4, item number 13, an amendment be included.
Mr. Speaker.
The generation
Mr. Speaker.
and transmission of energy
Mr.
and
Speaker,
power.
now is not at the right time to introduce any amendment or any addendum, Mr. Speaker.
That's right, Majority Leader. This is not the right time. We are in the period of interpellation and not on the period of amendments. I would like to apologize, Mr. Speaker. I would just like to amend my manifestation that my manifestation would include that the proposal that we have submitted this morning to the office of the Speaker be put on record that if ever I cannot participate, I will not be given the opportunity to participate in the period of amendment. This will be considered that the generation and transmission sector be included in Section 4, item 13. Thank you.
We note the manifestation of the Honorable Dagook. Mr. Speaker, I move we recognize the Honorable Deputy Speaker, Dan Fernandez. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Deputy Speaker Dan, my idol Fernandez, from
Thank you so
Southern
much,
Tagalog, from
Speaker.
province of Tagalog, recognize.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Hindi po to interpellation. I just wanted to congratulate the House leadership to come out with this virtual session wherein we will all be protected. But allow me also, Mr. Speaker, to say my piece. Alam naman po natin that ang ating pong mga hospital are being mandated by the Department of Health para magamit sa mga COVID-19 patients. At sila po ay talagang mga natin ay talagang naging touch sa ating mga virus natin. Mr. Speaker, to use this ipakita natin sa kanila in our own water na kung saan pwede natin